One of the great privileges of my life is to be able to say a few words about my great friend, Mortimer A. Dittenhofer. Mort and I met for the first time personally in Miami at an IIA conference, and he told me he would like to ask me for some help. I was sort of surprised because I had really gotten in touch with him 2 or 3 years earlier to help me when I was working on auditing standards for the Comptroller General's Office of the Republic of Peru. And I'd found out that he was the head of the project for the GAO auditing standards. I asked him for help in a letter, and he spent the next 40 years helping me. So when we met in Miami, he said, "Jim, could you help me form an AGA chapter?" He was executive director of the Association of Government Accountants at that time. And so I said, "Well, we just formed a chapter of the Institute of Internal Auditors. That's why I'm here. I brought the president." And it was one of the hardest things I ever did. I don't think I can do that again. Ecuador and many other countries are not big enough to have more than one chapter of an organization. And it would, besides, there are not that many government accountants in Ecuador. Somehow we said, wouldn't it be nice if we could have some kind of umbrella organization that would encompass AGA, IIA, and other similar organizations in the different countries, no matter which organization operated there. And out of that came the International Consortium on Governmental Financial Management. Meanwhile, Mort developed the GAO auditing standards and received a great deal of fame and appreciation for it. But he was a great influence on auditing standards, much broader than just the Yellow Book with the GAO standards. He was a member of the IIA committee that developed the professional standards for the practice of internal auditing worldwide. He helped me in Latin America, and the Peruvian standards became a model for other Latin American countries. And finally, they developed into the INTOSAI global auditing standards. So Mort had a global influence on all the governmental auditing standards across the world. Well, we formed the International Consortium as an umbrella organization after a couple of years, and it grew. Mort was the spearhead of it. He got the corporate charter, he organized everything, he arranged for the first president, and the consortium was functioning when I came back to Washington later on, when he was the Secretary General of the consortium and I became the second president, and we started the annual Washington Conference on International Financial Management, and then we had the idea of a monthly forum called the Washington International Governmental Financial Management Forum. And those two activities continue to this day and have been going on for about 33 years. Then Mort moved to Florida International University after hitting the retirement age at the university where he was at Georgetown. And one day he called me up on the telephone. He says, "Jim, why don't we start a conference for the Latin American countries? You work in Latin America." And so we did. And we started the conference. That was 30 years ago. The conference was started. Mort served as director of the conference for 17 years, and I was chairman of the program and helped arrange the program. It originally was directed to Spanish speakers only, to the Latin American nations. Somehow it became widely known. We got more and more people from other countries, and it became an international conference. So, and that conference is going to hold its 30th anniversary session on May 16th of this year in Miami. Well, Mort held every honor that anybody could possibly conceive of, and I think a few even more, particularly in the Institute of Internal Auditors, the AGA, and many other organizations, including his university, and so many that he could had more plaques that than he could hang on his wall. And the Institute of Internal Auditors, where he was extremely active, he had already done everything by the time I became president of the Washington chapter. But I had a crisis, and for once I had to call on him to help me. The vice president of the chapter had been elected president to replace me and suddenly got a job in another state. He called me up before he had been sworn in, said, I can't serve, I'm leaving Washington. I was desperate. For some reason, there were no other candidates to be president of the chapter, and it dawned on me that the only thing Mort had not ever done was be chapter president. So I called him up. I said, Mort, I'm desperate. Could you be the chapter president? He said, certainly, I'll be glad to. He never turned down any request for any help. And so he did. And that's helped me greatly. He was always working. He worked day and night. He worked up into his 90s. I used to pass through the Miami airport, going back and forth to Latin America, and he would meet me at the airport when we would plan the Miami conferences. One year he had to have a heart operation, and he told me, I told him one day I was coming, he said, Jim, could you come by the hospital about 11 o'clock because I should be coming out of the anesthesia by then. Sure enough, I went by at 11 o'clock and he was still groggy, but we worked for a couple hours planning the next Miami conference. He was a great worker. He was humorous. He always had new ideas. He loved to travel. He was invited across the world. He spoke across the world and was a great influence. He outlived all his contemporaries. He was a friend, a colleague, a mentor, and to me, a father in the auditing profession.